Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you all here this evening for the book launch of Siobhan MacDonald. This is our second virtual book launch, and my name is Colette Cotter and I represent O'Mahony's Booksellers. I've been the shop manager here for many years, and I've known Siobhan for a long number of years through her previous book, and when she mentioned that she had another book coming out in December or January, she said, oh well, we'll do the book launch. So we put a date in the diary and took no notice of it until suddenly in March, and the shop suddenly had to close, and Siobhan said, what's happening with my book launch? And I thought, oh, we'll do something. So we decided that we would still host an evening. So I'm delighted, Siobhan, that you picked O'Mahony's for your book launch. And as anyone knows me, I love crime, so I'm delighted this is a crime book. I'm in the middle of it, so I can't spoil anything for the minute. So without further ado, I will pass you on.
Hi, greetings from sunny London. My name is Krystyna Green and I'm Siobhan's publisher here at Constable, an imprint of Little Brown. When I commissioned Siobhan at the end of last year, who would have thought that come publication the world would be such a very different lockdown place, and how affected every single one of us would be. I find it mind-blowing. I haven't been to the office since March, and it looks as though I won't be back until September. But during this time, it's been brilliant to see how creative authors, booksellers, publicists and editors have been when it comes to ensuring their books should be shouted about from all the rooftops to the widest virtual audience. And how brilliant it is to hear that Irish bookshops are reopening on the 8th of June. But in the meantime, huge congratulations on the launch of Guilty, a book you can so easily get lost in, and we all need nail-biting distractions to make us forget the everyday tediums and problems we're all facing. So I raise my glass to you all now, to Siobhan and all at Mahoney's, and the very best of luck with the launch.
My name is Jo Bell. I am Siobhan's literary agent from Bell, Lomax, Moreton, and I just wanted to say congratulations, Siobhan, for the publication of Guilty. Just an amazing book. I think it was, well, brilliant from the start, really. I know we've worked on it together for a bit, but I can remember the day when a reader in the office said, I've got a good one here, Jo. I think you should have a read of this one. And I did. I instantly dived in, loved it. I don't think it was kind of one thing that stuck out for me in the story. It was a combination. It was the really interesting and complex characters, Luke, obviously, but Alison, my goodness, not wanting to give anything away to readers that haven't read it yet, but also the page-turning ability of your writing that really grabbed me, and I couldn't stop. And then the additional character, I think, in the setting. So, not only is it a beautiful setting that you've set it in, but you've made it very wild in places with the weather as well. And I just think that's an incredibly brilliant thing to be able to do. So huge congratulations. I know this is a strange way of celebrating, but we're in a strange world now. Have a wonderful, wonderful publication day. Enjoy your virtual launch. Huge thank you for working with me, Siobhan. It's just been a joy, and I can't wait to work on the next one with you. Thanks also to Krystyna at Constable, and to everyone that has supported at Hachette Island, because this is looking to be like a great launch. Take care. Hello to everyone there, and thank you again. Bye.
Hi there, I'm Judy Curtin, and I'm here to help Siobhan celebrate on her big night. I'm really, really happy to be here tonight to help to celebrate this. When I read your last book, Twisted River, when I got to the end, I thought you'd made a terrible mistake, because you'd said one thing in the beginning and then something else at the end. But when I went back and checked, of course, you hadn't said the first thing, you just made us think it. So I mean this in the best possible way when I say that you get into our heads and you manipulate what's going on, and that's a wonderful skill. So this latest book, Guilty, I was so lucky I got an advance copy, and it was wonderful. I read it in a day and a half, and not only because I wanted to be able to talk about it here today, but also because I couldn't put it down. It's smart, it grips you, it's beautifully written. And I think with this book, finally, I really, really hope that you're going to get the recognition and the success that you deserve. So all I can do is wish you the very best of luck with it, and I hope it does very, very well for you. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, Siobhan MacDonald. I have to start by saying that I have a bone to pick with you. I started reading this book yesterday. I took delivery of it yesterday morning, but I had a day's work to do. So in the evening, I picked up the book and I started to read. And then I went to bed and I kept reading in bed, as I usually do. And I'm not sure when exactly I turned out the light, but I know it wasn't early. Or rather, it was early. It was the early hours. It was probably in the region of 2 or 3. I was too tired to see the time properly. And even when I went to sleep, Siobhan MacDonald, your characters, they intruded in my sleep and they didn't let me rest properly. So I woke up groggy this morning. So I hope you feel guilty for that. Seriously, congratulations on the publication of your 3rd book. You must be thrilled and delighted. If it's got half as many twists and turns as Twisted River, I'm in for a treat. Kind of, because I'm in for a dreadful time as well. I was afraid to turn the pages. And I should add that I'm not finished the book by any means, because I'm a really slow reader. I'm only about 1/3 of the way in. But it is so gripping. It is absolutely absorbing. I called them your characters. I could think of worse names for them now, to be honest, because some of them are not very nice at all. But I think it's no surprise that crime fiction is one of the most popular genre, if not the most popular, because I think it's some achievement for a writer to be able to, like Judy said, to be able to get into the head of a reader and mess with it and scare the reader. I mean, there's a real skill to doing that. And even though the reader obviously enjoys the experience, because I think there's a bit of a masochist in all of us that loves being scared, it's not every crime writer that can actually have the reader suspend disbelief to the extent that they really feel the fear. And I think you achieve it, Siobhan, and you certainly achieved it with Twisted River. So very well done to you. It's not every crime writer can do it, and I'm in awe of people who can, and a little jealous too of you being in such a popular genre. But I can't really complain, I suppose. Now, when you very kindly said a few words of well-wishing to me for my virtual launch last week, you ended with a limerick. So I felt under a little bit of pressure to return the favour to you. So here we go. There was once a writer, Siobhan, who wasn't exactly withdrawn. She wrote such thrillers with victims and killers, kept readers awake till the dawn. So you've done it with me, Siobhan, and you'll do it with many a reader. Every good wish with book number 3. I expect to see you flying high in the bestseller lists before very long. Thanks.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. When the extent of the measures being taken to control the pandemic became clear to me, I more or less put all plans for a book launch out of my mind. I didn't think it would be really possible. So it's huge thanks to Colette, Cotter and the rapid response team in O'Mahony's, including Katrina O'Brien and Lisa, that I am here in this lovely bookshop in the beating heart of O'Connell Street today. Every cloud has a silver lining, and I think the silver lining in this situation is that there are people that can join me that may not otherwise have been able to join me if it had been a regular book launch. So if you're watching, hello to my family in Australia, hello to my family in England, and hello to my family in Scotland. When the idea of a virtual book launch was mooted and I discussed it with Colette, I was trying to imagine in my head, well, what's that going to be like? Am I going to talk into a void in a mainly empty bookshop? Or will it be like me walking around the kitchen at home, talking to myself and the characters in my head? And I thought, well, that's what writers do. They talk to the characters in their heads all the time. So it's very much business as usual. Publishing a book and launching a book in any situation, and in a situation like this, is a hard ask. So I have a number of people to thank. I would like to thank my agent, Joe Bell, at Bell Lomax Moreton. I would like to thank Krystyna Green at Constable Littlebrown. And I would like to thank Elaine Egan and Siobhan Tierney and everybody at Hachette for all the support. Thanks to my early readers, to Sarah O'Donoghue, to Joanna O'Donoghue, and to my very first reader and very first editor and purveyor of very many cups of coffee, tea, and lots of sage advice, my husband Neil. And thank you too to my two boys, Jamie and Alistair, who are always good for giving me a laugh. When the full extent of the medical references that I had in my final draft jumped out at me, I thought, well, you know, it's all very well researching on the internet, and it's all very well reading articles in the Lancet and medical journals, but I knew that I had to get a medical professional to have a look over my final draft. So huge thanks to Professor Clodagh O'Gorman, who spent a very painstaking evening with me going through all my pink sticky notes on my final draft and putting me right on very many things. And I'd like to hasten to add that any medical inaccuracies are totally of my own making. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the inspiration for Guilty. Many crime writers and crime novels concern themselves with issues of morality and lack of morality, to be quite honest. So I had been listening to the radio one day and I heard this really, really disturbing incident. And I got to thinking, how could somebody do something like that? In what kind of a situation could somebody do something like that? And I tried to create a scenario almost for myself to explain how such a situation could come about. Not to be an apologist for it, not to accept it in any way or to justify it in any way, but to try and come to some kind of an accommodation or an understanding. And it put me in mind of a play I went to see a number of years ago in Dundee, in the Dundee Rep, and that was called Equus by Peter Schaefer. And I found a copy of the play recently, and in it the playwright says that he had been going along in his car, I think it was possibly a bank holiday weekend, and he heard this horrible story of horses being maimed, and he could not get his head around this. So he wrote this play in an effort to try and explain a scenario where that might be possible. And I tried to do that here with Guilty. Now it's up to you, the reader, to decide whether I've done a good job of that or not. I also set myself another little challenge. Many crime novels open up with a woman in peril, a woman being killed, a woman being chased, or like myself, I opened up a previous novel with the body of a woman in a boot. So I decided this time I would try and turn the trope on its head, and I would work with the trope of a man in peril, just for a change. So I hope again that that has worked. It's up to you, to the reader, to decide whether it has or it's not. Maybe just a little bit about the book in a nutshell. It's about a heart surgeon at the top of his game, Luke Ford, and he lives in an architect-designed house on the shores of a lake in County Clare. And he appears to have it all. He's at the top of his game with his career. He's married to a very high-powered politician. He has a daughter that he adores. And life seems to be going well for Luke. Now, one morning, he is out in his boat, in his cruiser, and he's trying to clear his head because he's had a particularly busy night in the ER, and he is on his way back into his house, and he's approaching the boathouse of it, next to his house, and he has this horrible sense of foreboding. And as he draws closer, he sees graffiti on the side of his boathouse, and this is the start in a series of ominous messages that see his whole life spiral into chaos over the course of a weekend. So Really, all I can say now is I hope you enjoy reading Guilty as much as I enjoyed writing it. And if I may, I might go on to read you a little excerpt. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Siobhan, on the launch of your latest whodunit. Can't wait to read it. Cheers!
Congratulations, Siobhan, and all the best on your book launch. Hope you have a lovely day. See you soon.
Best of luck with your new book, Guilty. Hope you have a great night at your book launch. Cheers!
Well done on your book launch, Siobhan. Guilty. Cheers.
Congratulations, Siobhan. I am really looking forward to reading Guilty. Cheers.
Siobhan, hope you have a fabulous day. We're really, really proud of you. Well done. Sláinte.
Hi Siobhan, it's Rosemary here from Windsor, sending you huge congratulations on your new book, Guilty. I'm sorry that I can't be at your book launch in O'Mahony's in Limerick, but I'm really pleased to be part of this virtual book launch event. I really enjoy your writing because it's very authentic, it's well written and always has great characters. And I'm very much looking forward to reading Guilty. I'm sure it will be full of twists and turns, intrigue and drama, much like your previous books, and it'll be very well written. I'm very proud of you as a friend, but also as a writer, and I wish you much success with your new book, Guilty.
Hi Siobhan, congratulations on this virtual launch of your new book Guilty at O'Mahony's bookshop in Limerick. I am so excited to read your new book. I know you're very proud of it and you've put a lot of work and effort into it. I'm very proud of you to do this. Who would have known all those many, many moons ago when I met you, when you were writing your little vignettes for us to perform on stage. It should have been no surprise to me that you would end up being a published author. It's a lovely day, Siobhan, for you. Enjoy it. We'll clink the glasses together again.
My name is Patricia Byrne. I'm a Limerick writer. I've known Siobhan for many years and I know that she's a gutsy, passionate, skillful writer. If any of you have read her previous books, Twisted River or The Blue Pond, you'll know that she's a really master of just great, great plots. And I'm sure her new book is nothing different. Siobhan, I can't wait to read Guilty. And I hope you have a great launch night and that the book does really, really well. Congratulations and well done.
Hi Siobhan, it's Katrina here. I just wanted to wish you the very best for tonight. During normal times we'd all be there with you in O'Mahony's Bookstore to toast your success, but I'm hoping it won't be long until we meet again and you can sign a copy of Guilty for me. You know I love a good thriller, and during these really strange times I've been reading more than ever, and I loved Twisted River and The Blue Pool, so I cannot wait to read your next book. Congratulations, you deserve it, and we'll see you soon.
Hi Siobhan, your family here in Australia.
Hi Siobhan. Hi Siobhan.
Just sending you a short video clip to congratulate you on your book launch. We're so happy and thrilled for you, and we wish you all the success with the launch. I can't wait to read it, Siobhan.
Hi Siobhan, absolutely thrilled. It's a great achievement, your third book, and looking forward to seeing the movie when it comes out.
Hi Siobhan, congratulations on your new book.
Love you.
Bye.
Best of luck from all of us here in Australia.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Luke, Saturday the 13th of April. Something told Luke not to watch, to turn away, that he'd be sorry if he looked. But his eyes were drawn above him where he stood. A white flash seared overhead. It gathered mass and started falling. It tumbled, spinning ever downwards, ever brilliant against the darkening sky. In a drunken pirouette, it cast a spinning shadow as it fell towards the earth. Luke was in the creature's path. He stepped aside just in time. There was a sickening thud as it hit the ground. The creature quivered inches from him. It was mangled, its neck was broken,
and its blood-soaked feathers splayed as if reaching out. It blinked with a glazed eye, and he shied back. The creature shuddered and gave a long, low, piteous moan. Luke bolted upright against his pillow, convinced that he'd cried out. "Sophie?" The woman beside him was breathing gently, her long hair tousled, tired from the night before. Luke sat shaking, a cold sweat prickling his brow. He stared nervously into the dark, listening to the sound of the water lapping outside. It had been a while since the white bird called to see him. Last night's shift was heavy going. The girl had been critical. According to her friend, she'd taken some pills at a party. She was young, 15, 3 years younger than Nina. It had taken hours to get her stable. Everyone called him a hero. Wide awake, he sat and waited for the dawn. When light streaked the sky, he dressed quietly and slipped downstairs, through the kitchen, out the heavy door, and down the glass corridor to the boathouse. The air was damp and it was cold for April. His breath formed in ghostly clouds as he stepped into his boat. It felt good to be up and about. Checks complete, he steered the cruiser out into open water. Powering up the engine, he planed slowly through the waves before picking up speed. It was the first Saturday in a month he wasn't on call. He'd left his mobile in the glove compartment of the car and his laptop in the boot. He was under orders. The sky was bruised and sullen and rain was in the air. He'd head first for Carey's Island, then cruise across to Lisheen Bay before heading back to Kilbourne Pier. Out here, alone, Luke could think. He often thought about escaping, floating off to somewhere safe. As he watched, a bank of trees sheared away from the pine-green stubble of the hillside down towards the loch. The rain had been relentless. Mudslides had closed roads all around Loch Carberry, and the forecast warned of further flooding. The surface of the water wrinkled as the breeze picked up. On the northern hills, turbines were staked in the ground like giant white crucifixes, their long arms turning in the rain-soaked wind. In the distance, Luke saw folds of starlings swishing one over the other, dispersing, then coming together in great bisecting arcs of flight. Something had disturbed these starlings. He scoured the hillside for a bird of prey. Luke's days were driven by reason and logic. Birds of prey were driven by instinct and impulse alone. He envied their simplicity, the pureness of a kill to sate an appetite, not cursed by doubt or conscience. There were things in life he couldn't control, and Dr. Black was helping him with those. There were also things he couldn't accept, things that lay between him and sleep, things so dark no one would want to know. The wonder of the starlings lingered as he approached the house. Seeing his home from the water made him feel sad. It was a project he and Alison had worked on together. Locals had dubbed it the Glass House, and the name had stuck. 3 large cubes of flat-roofed, glass-panelled walls offset slightly from one another. They linked to the boathouse by a long glass corridor over the lawn. The house had won several design awards. That had made Alison happy. His wife liked beautiful things. But there was something else, foreboding. As he looked out for the inlet, marked by a rocky outcrop and an old bench, he sensed that something was out of place. He spotted what it was. Something painted on the loch side of his boathouse. Drawing close, he made it out. 6 white letters in fresh paint. G-U-I-L-T-Y. Guilty. And there you have it. I'd just like to thank a few other people while I remember. Judy, obviously, and Roisin, thank you for your really kind words, and Colette. But there are A few other writers I would like to thank. I've had a lot of support from the crime writing community. I would particularly like to thank Patricia Gibney for her lovely quote. I would really like to thank Andrea Carter, who's given me great support, and I would like to thank Joe Spain as well. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for joining our second virtual book launch. My sincere thanks to all the staff and contributors for their time, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we did putting it together. You can order a signed copy of Siobhan's book on www.o'mahonys.ie. Thank you for watching.